Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Prog Report interview. I have back on the podcast, not in a car this time, as we've talked about, great drummer Mark Zonder back to talk about A to Z. And of course, you guys know him from Fates Warning and all sorts of other projects and bands he's been in. Good to have you back, man.
Oh, thanks. And I should have had a seatbelt on right now, but here in the studio, I think I'm good. I don't think we're moving anywhere, so
I
I'm good.
think that's exactly right. Well, that was a fun interview. I think we had my buddy Kyle on with us, and
Oh yeah.
he's a drummer, and for him it was like a big deal to get to talk to you. So, um, you have a new album with A to Z, which is what we talked to you about the last time a couple years ago. And that, what's exciting for that is that you have a second album with sort of a new band that a lot of artists that have been around for a long time try to start some new things. They don't always stick around. They don't always get past the first record sometimes. Just the way things sometimes work. But that was a really strong record. I think a lot of people liked it. If you're building on something here, and you got the second one. So, how long were you sort of planning to jump back in and do this second record, or did it take some time to come around to it?
Well, oh no, I was ready to go 20 minutes after the last one was put out. I literally had over 120 different drum ideas out to these guys because, we all know that these days, but when you turn your record in, it takes so long for the vinyl and this, that, and the other. And the
Right.
label needs, thank God we were on like a great label and it does take time, for them to set it up. And I wanted to take that time to tour and to write new material for the next record because if you have another one in the can, you can schedule it properly and not wait a couple of years and then the label needs another 7 months. And then everybody kind of just disappeared. So it was always my intent to keep it going. I mean, these guys knew from the very beginning. I told them, I go, this is kind of old school. This isn't a project. This is a band. This is something that I'm going all in on. And, we're going to do the record. We're going to do the touring. We're going to do the press. And then we're going to do the next record. And it's a cycle. You have to build it. Like you just already talked about building. It's all about building. These days, unless maybe you're a YouTube internet sensation, there's no such things as like exploding. You have to build it. And
Yep.
I was prepared to do that, and I still am. And so I looked at it more of like it's a band, it might have moving pieces. Some people might come and go. It wasn't really my choice. It was a situation that was presented to me, and I had the choice to make. Well, I guess I said it wasn't my choice, but I had the choice to take care of my career. Am I going to sit here and just wait and wait and wait and wait? And as most people know, me, I don't really wait around. So I needed to get going. So that's where it came about. I mean, it was happening the whole time. It just took a little while
Yep.
um, to come about. But no, it wasn't my choice. It wasn't like, hey, let's just go change everybody. But you can't move on to the second step unless everybody's participating and going in the same direction. And that's just what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least you're here. The new album called A2Z2 comes out on June 6th on Metal Blade. You're back. Well, Ray is back. Ray Alder's back, still with you singing on this one. He
Yep.
sounds great. I mean, the guy his voice just doesn't age. It's remarkable. You talk about working with him again on this one. How did you guys bounce ideas back and forth? How was the songwriting on this one?
Well, with Ray, um, it was just like with the last album, and like I do with all the guys in the band. It's like, hey, do whatever you want. Do whatever you like. I'm not writing lyrics. I'm not writing melody lines. I might have suggestions at things that I hear, maybe like, hey, can you do it twice or wait till whatever, the small little adjustments. But just like I did on the first record, is you have the material, no melodies, no, lyrics or anything. And I send them to Ray and I say, hey, do whatever you want, however you want to hear it. I don't want to tell you, hey, this is the verse, this is the chorus. When we write the songs, we are putting them together so they are commercially accessible, and it is a kind of semi-pop formula, if you want to call that, repeating verses, repeating choruses, a bridge, a musical part, try to get cute with it and get creative. But they are set up for vocals. The whole thing is the big
Right.
hook and the vocal. So with that, I love the fact that, hey, Ray, how do you hear it? And just like on the first album, he was singing choruses where I thought there would be a verse and vice versa, just because of the dynamic of the music. And that's what makes it special with A through Z. To me, the whole point was you do whatever you want. How do you hear it? And the same thing with all the guys in the band. I'm not going to sit here and tell Nick or Simone, hey, play an E sharp and an F major or whatever. It's like you get the seasoned pros and you let them go. You find the best people you can, and that's the beauty, and that's where I think the magic really happens instead of one guy dictating, what everything's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned Nick Van Dyke from Redemption, who goes back working with Ray, with the Redemption records. You talk about him and what he brought to the table this time around.
Who? Oh, no, I'm
Nick.
sorry. Nick, I'm kidding. I've known Nick for probably 30 years. I remember the first day I met him when he walked into a Fates morning rehearsal at Bill's place. Um, Nick is just a great guy. He's been a good friend of mine. Like I always said, Nick is one of the few guys that I'd leave my kids, my car keys, and my checkbook with. Just a great guy. So as A through Z was stalling and nothing was happening, Nick said to me, we went to go see Kansas, okay, here in Ventura. And
Mhm.
he says to me, he goes, hey man, we've always talked about doing something. Why don't we start writing stuff? I go, great idea, great idea. After he took me out to this amazing meal. But that's beside the point. Anyways, that's just Nick. And so we start writing stuff and everything's going great. It's cool. It's working fine. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Try this, try that. Nothing major, but, just the usual tweaking of stuff, trying to get us molded together. Then we go to the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame that was out here. And I was playing with Chris Pelletary when he was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. And backstage, Nick comes up to me. Well, I mean, he's a friend, obviously, but he comes up and he says, "Hey, I was thinking, I know how much time, energy, money, and what you did with A through Z, and like, how it was, if so happening, and it was out there." He goes, "If you want to, we can take this stuff and call it A through Z. Use it for the next record." And at that point, I really wanted to kiss him on the lips, but there were too many people around, so I didn't. I mean, he just really brought me back from kind of being on my back on the floor, because I did put so much time and energy and everything into this constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So then it just kind of rolled from there. We started putting the material together. Obviously, Philip Bino is another one of those checkbook keys and leave my kids with kind of guy that I've known. So I'm surrounding myself with like great friends and great people, great communicators. And Nicky even told me, he said, "Hey, I'm not sure where this is going to go, but if it, you're gonna go play live shows, and if I can't make it for my prior commitments, I'll let you know ahead of time. We'll find somebody else. Everything will be cool." Just it was great to just deal with people that were very mature and just pros, just pro.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ray. When it came to keyboards, I've been working with Jimmy Waldo from the Graham Bonnet, with Graham Bonnet and stuff like that, and I've just known Jimmy for a long time. He was the logical choice, looking to get a little heavier, little Hammond organ, little Deep Purple, little Rainbow kind of style instead of the lighter, more progressive style keyboards. And then Simone came about as he was the guy who actually mixed the first record, who did an amazing job, and he was mixing the second record, so that was a done deal. But talking with Nick was talking about, the leads and stuff and how, he thought it'd be a great idea. Hey, why don't we bring Simone in? Because he's the most amazing guitar player I've ever seen. So he brought Simone in to play the leads, and then the leads turned into, hey man, play whatever you want, wherever you want. So Simone came up with all these kind of great orchestrated kind of Neil Schon, Steve Lukather kind of background parts that are kind of just there guitar wise. And a star is born, and there
That's
it
great.
is.
Yeah, well, and he has a long history of working with a lot of bands and being to really contribute like hooky material and that kind of stuff, right? He's really talented at that stuff.
No, he's a great guy. And again, you're just dealing with pros. Here you're talking about a band where everybody literally, except for me and Nick and myself, live in LA, but everybody else is all over the world. Chicago, Arizona, Spain, Italy. But it worked like we were all in the same room together. Just because, again, you're dealing with pros. I just had that idea. Let him go. Simone, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Let's take a listen. Oh, that's really cool, but can you do it again? Or can you do it twice as fast? Or I hear more of this. I mean, it was like bang, 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 bang. So that
Yeah.
was that was a beautiful thing. And that's just when you're working with the right people.
That's awesome. The first single has been out a couple of days now, maybe a week or so. Nothing is over. Killer song, killer hook, very catchy, very just aggressive. I like that kind of 80s drum fill opening that you got going there, which is kind of cool. Very cool sound.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that song. I mean, that sort of is maybe the signature kind of lyric for the approach of the band and the album, right? Like nothing is over. We're not, we're not stopping this thing.
No, yeah, absolutely. I always kind of looked at this more as, like I said, is not necessarily as a franchise, but it's going to be as long as I'm breathing, I'm going to be moving it forward. And if you want to come along, great. And if you don't, we'll have to make adjustments as we go. When it comes to the lyrics and everything, that's all Ray. So that's kind of, I'm not going to say it's a Ray question, but yes, that nothing is over fits quite well with what's going on. I mean, thank God it didn't take 7 years to do this, but it would have been a lot quicker if we were moving on it right away.
Right.
Uh, but it was interesting because that was one of the first things that Nick and I started working on. And here's just an example of how this worked. When he first came to me with the idea, it was in a major scale, and it was a little, I don't want to say happy, but I'm not a big major scale guy. I said, hey, can we put this in minor scale? Because I'm looking for a little that darker, heavier, that minor scale sound. I know there's a lot of bands, even in like hard rock bands and metal bands, can play around with the major minor thing and make it work, but it just wasn't sounding what I kind of wanted. So we
Right.
just flipped it into a major thing and we were off and running. And, the rest is history. I mean, it's very, like most of the 99% of this album, it's kind of a pop setup, it's verses, it's big choruses, big hooks, coming back to the hook again, maybe coming back in a different dynamic kind of way where, we break it down, we double it up, whatever the case may be. But also on this album, the guys really kind of let loose.
Right.
And it's just taking it a little step further, pushing that envelope of a little bit more playing, a little bit more to kind of a little bit more food for the guys who are looking, the musicians that are looking into it, going, oh, what's he doing here? What's he doing there? Kind of thing. And it just worked, but always keeping that hook. Because I was a firm believer, if you have the hook, the rest of the time you can, not that you can do whatever you want, but you can kind of do whatever you want and get away with it a little bit. And you can push those envelopes, but when it comes to that hook, it just needs to stick. It was, going back to that first record, and I know it sounds corny, but I was thinking beer commercial, car commercial, and Cobra Kai. Just that hook, that thing that everybody, I always say when we come to the second chorus, if you don't have it by then we didn't do our job right. Because you
Yeah.
really should be able to catch that chorus after the first time around.
The artwork again for this album is pretty striking. The last one you had sort of the zebra with the apple, A to Z with that. On this one you got an alligator, I guess with the zipper. Um,
Yep.
are you involved in coming up with that ideas, or was it Hugh Syme that did the artwork again?
No, Usain did the artwork, and on the first album, I gave him the basic idea, and he just threw that back to me very quickly, and we were kind of off and running, and we started working on that whole theme of, using artwork that combined the A and the Z and that kind of stuff. This time around, another really good friend, he doesn't play an instrument, but he's just as instrumental in it, is Mark Cubbage, really helps me out with a lot of stuff. I call him the doctor because I use him as a therapist, as like, well, this is happening. What do you think? And he goes, no, Mark, don't react that way. And, I mean, just a great guy. And he helps me with a lot of the business stuff. And we were throwing around all the A through Z stuff. Okay, what are we going to do this time? What can we come up with? And we came, I think it was pretty much his idea with the A through Z, the alligator and the zipper. And I remember he even went out, because he lives in Florida, to the alligator ranch. He shot all kinds of pictures because we were starting, from there, like, okay, what are we going to do? Um, but we gave Hugh the idea, and then he ran with it. And there was a lot of adjustments that went on with it, like, dude, the zipper doesn't quite work that way. You need to have it go the other way because it's not going to work. And every fan out there is going to go, wait a minute, man, what's going on with the zipper? So we tweaked and we tweaked and we tweaked. I think this one is a great representation. It has more teeth. It's more aggressive. Obviously, this is a more aggressive looking cover. It goes with the music really well.
Yeah.
I think it's an excellent, part two to the part one story. Again, I've always said if we're going to go out there and try to sell a record, and if I'm going to try to sell you a steak, I can't and charge you for a steak. I can't give you a hamburger. I can't say, hey, why don't you go to our website and see some pictures my daughter drew for the album cover. It's just
Right.
not, that's not my idea
No,
of a video.
you're not wrong. I think that
Yeah.
even goes to, I was going to bring up to that extent the music video for the single, which is all of you there playing and hanging out, and it looks like a band. And I think that all of that is so important these days because you have such a little window. There's so much content and so much stuff going on. You have to look like it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you say that. I'd love to take credit for it, but that is all Metal Blade. That's all Tracy Vera at Metal Blade, believing in the band, bringing six guys from around the world, putting them up in Hollywood, doing 3 to 4 days of all the shoots and all the video and stuff costs a lot of money. Let's just leave it there. And they have to know how much we appreciate it. It's like that doesn't happen all the time.
No.
I can't even remember that happening since the 90s. But it's like for a label to do that this day and age, so that's why everything that we do, and it always was, but that's why we're kind of a good match because again, everything is 100%, 100%, 110%. The last thing I want to do is turn around 3 years from now and go, we really should have done a better album cover. I really wish that second video, wasn't a dog. It's like everything has to be, because me and Mark Cubbage talk about this all the time. It's like if you practice perfection and if you practice being the best you can be all the time, it just comes natural. And everything that we do on this has to be that way. I mean, because you don't get these kind of chances all the time. Like they always talk about in sports, like, you're playing in the championship. It doesn't come around all the time. It's not guaranteed that next year you're going to have the same opportunity. So
Yeah.
when you're there, you better be prepared. You better, have it down and push 110%. So no, absolutely. It's, we have, Metal Blade's been great. There's a whole rollout for the next month or two or whatever. And, that was also the reason on the first album, as much as they weren't great videos, we did a video for every song. And that was just us doing that. We just thought it was important to keep it going, put that music out there in front of everybody. And so you kind of do everything that you possibly can do to promote your band.
Yeah. Again, and it also has to do with a band being available and wanting to do the interviews and post on socials and all that kind of stuff. It's things no one wants to be doing necessarily. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, it's
it's just what it requires these days. And to see you guys embracing all of that, I think it shows commitment to the project. You know what I mean?
oh, absolutely. Well, I look at it this way. We have this great opportunity, and if we don't follow through with those all those other things, yeah, I'd rather be playing the drums, but I'm not going to be playing the drums on another record unless this stuff is done correctly. And I look at
Right.
every interview and every kind of possibility like that. It's just one big ad for the band. It's an ad.
Right. Yeah.
It's an advertisement. Love it or hate it, it just needs to be done. And actually, I actually kind of enjoy it. I don't mind it because I feel like, hey, we're doing something for the band today. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Something's happening that you can continue to push it forward for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Um, you have to be to that end sort of frustrated with just the general state of music, the music business, right? I mean, radio, getting things on radio is just so hard, and there's no more MTV, and touring is a challenge. It's got to be just sort of tough to navigate, right?
Yes. I mean, Nick always comes up with the funny ones, but he came up with a great one. After this album was done, he goes, "You do know if that we were in the '80s, we'd be in private jets right now, right?"
Yeah, right.
That kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yes and no. I would not want to be 25 years old today in the music business. Okay. I wouldn't want to do that. Um, I'm overly appreciative for everything, which doesn't mean I'm going to be a pain in the ass and push for what I want and what I think realistically is best for the band. But I am overly appreciative, and so are all the guys in the band, of where we're at and the opportunity and how the label's handling us and treating us and giving the opportunity because that doesn't come around. Yes, it's frustrating. And yes, yes, it's frustrating because we're used to what the '80s and the '90s and 2000s were.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's a different game. You appreciate what you have and you push forward and do everything you possibly can. As long as I'm breathing and I can play, I'm good.
Yeah.
I can't control the other things, unfortunately.
Right.
you
Great
know. So I
attitude, man.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of blows. It would be nice to be, $500,000 record budgets, of course, but hey, I look at it this way. We're lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to do those things. And, I have a studio here that's as good as any studio in town. And over the years, I put it together and I can record my drums. And, I'm lucky that I found a great engineer and great guys. So I'm looking kind of more on the positive side as much as, yes, it'd be really easy to bum out.
You know what's funny? I had an interview recently with Alex Lifeson, and it's sort of same idea, right? He's not doing Rush anymore, and he has this new band with some younger people, and it's a different avenue, similar situation a little bit. And he said it was funny because he offered the record label that they would fly over to wherever and do a day of interviews and that kind of stuff. And they laughed and they said, but that's just not what we do anymore. So he stays at home and does interviews on Zoom,
Oh yeah.
like everyone else. So yeah, it's just funny. It's just the way things go.
Oh yeah. Did you bring my name up when you were talking to him or no? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, are you still, now that the record's out and you're not recording any music for it right now or doing anything like that for the band, but you're doing interviews and stuff like that. So how are you maintaining sort of musicality by playing drums on your own at home, or do you keep yourself busy practicing? How does that part of it go for you?
A couple things are going on. We're talking about, we're talking, touring. We're talking about getting dates, dealing with different agents and those kind of things. So again, kind of my philosophy of getting a jump on it, I'm going to back and I'm learning the songs, because if someone said, hey, yeah, we got a tour for you in 3 weeks, that's kind of pressure to go relearn everything in like 3 weeks time. So obviously, I've done, we did 3 videos, or I actually had 4 videos done from a drum point of view. So I'm learning the rest of the songs on the album just so I'm ready. I play every day. Um, I've got the Warlord thing going. We're playing some dates. So I gotta, that takes me 20 minutes to review the material. That one, that's not a big deal. I've been doing it for so long. But no, I play every day and just a lot of creating stuff myself. I sit down, create different patterns and send them out to the guys, to work on, possibly to come up with new ideas. It works sometimes it doesn't work so well, and they come to me with ideas. But yeah, every day's a musical day per se. Um, so no matter what it's doing, even on days I don't feel like, not that I don't feel like practicing, but I don't have anything, I'll go in there behind me into the drum room, put the click up at a certain thing and just start playing and just play. And just whether I just play a groove for 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. Just constantly playing
Right.
and trying to create. And then it's funny how things will just pop into your mind when you're not thinking about it. So no, that's kind of what I do.
That's great. Again, the new album A2Z2 is out on June 6th on Metal Blade. There's a single out now, Nothing Is Over. You can check out the video and listen to it on streaming wherever you listen to music, and pre-order the album now. Really cool album cover, great album for sure. Always a pleasure talking to you, sir, and good luck with this album. I really hope people get a chance to hear it and check it out, and hopefully you get out there to do some shows and see where this thing continues to grow.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nick did tell me the other day, got me overly excited and said he already has 3 ideas for the next one. So we're definitely
Right
nothing
on.
is over.
There you go.
Uh,
All right, man. Have a great weekend. I'll see you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for checking out the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on all our socials and progreport.com. And we'll see you all again real soon. Thanks.